Hey everyone, so this video is a little bit different today. I am going to do a makeup tutorial and we're going to talk about some skincare that I use, hair care, all that kind of fun stuff. I'm also going to talk about my life in the TV production industry. So I'm going to talk about some celebrities that I've met, some cool TV shows I used to work on, and just my whole life in the entertainment industry. So this is a lot different from my usual content and I'm excited to bring something different. I just thought this would be fun if you want to get to know me better, or if you just want to hear some interesting stories. So for those of you that are new, I'm the mother of tarot. Normally my videos are pick a card tarot readings or different kinds of spiritual content, but today we're getting glammed up and we're going to talk about celebrities. Now if you clicked on this video and you want some juicy gossip, secrets that happened with celebrities, this isn't the right video for you. I'm not big into gossip. I'm not going to talk bad or trash about anybody that I've met, and most of the experiences I actually had with celebrities weren't really positive. I can't say this about all the producers I worked with, but that's a whole nother story. So before we start in the skincare regimen, I want to talk about my first exciting and cool story that I have, and it was probably one of the coolest shows I ever worked on. So I did a lot of different things in TV production. I was a production assistant, set dresser, I worked with the art team, I helped produce a documentary, I was a talent wrangler, I did hair and makeup, I was a coordinator at one point. I kind of dabbled with everything. For those of you that don't know, I did go to school for cosmetology, so I did have those skills under my belt. So I got hired on from a connection to work for this project for Steven Spielberg and John Williams. Now, I didn't really know what I was getting hired on for when I got the call. I thought this was one of Steven Spielberg's movies. I think most of you guys know who he is. He's a huge, famous director. He's directed so many amazing movies, and John Williams has done a lot of the music for like Star Wars and just famous theme songs that he's directed and composed. So they worked as a team together on a lot of movies. And I got hired to work on an interview. So Sony was interviewing Steven Spielberg and John Williams about their collaboration together and all of their years and all the amazing movies they've made together. And I got hired on to do their hair and makeup. At first, I thought when I got the call I was just going to be some sort of assistant to hair and makeup on one of their movies. I really didn't understand what I signed up for. That's part my own fault. I didn't ask a lot of questions, but I didn't really care. I was just excited. I was like, I'm just going to go buy a bunch of makeup and get everything ready, because I didn't even have the kit that you needed to do everything. So I just went and spent like a couple $100 and just bought everything I thought I could possibly need. And so when I got there, I was actually doing Steven Spielberg's makeup and John Williams. Now, they don't need a ton of makeup, they're men, so it wasn't hard. I got to talk to both of them, meet them, and what was really cool was I got to sit in on the interview and just listen to them, and I was like 6 feet away from these men just talking about their work together and their collaboration. And so that was the most exciting show or project you could say I worked on. It only was for one day, but I was starstruck. And Steven Spielberg was really nice, and I got to talk to him for quite a while. John Williams, he was nice, but he didn't really interact with me much. And I remember Steven Spielberg loved what I did loved the makeup that I did, and he's like, I'll have to bring you to Japan with me, like joking around, but I was like, yeah, I'll go, let's go. Sign me up, when are we leaving? But yeah, sadly that one only lasted a day, but that was probably the most exciting one. So anyways, let's talk about some of the skincare that I use, or actually, yeah, let's start with skincare. So I'm a really fan of Kiehl's. I don't know if you've heard of them, but I love their products. So I have really dry skin, like really dry skin. So I just have to put on a lot of moisturizers. And right now I'm living in Michigan in the US, and it's winter time and it's very, very dry. So I use this cucumber herbal cleanser. I love this. It's super gentle, smells amazing. It's great. It's hard to find face washes for me or face soaps that don't dry out my skin. So this has been an absolute lifesaver. And then I just started using their new moisturizer. It says it's a super multi-corrective cream. It smells good. It's super hydrating. So this is my main these. I play around with toner sometimes and serums, but for the most part I just use these two. And then I use just baby oil to remove my makeup. I think it works just as good as makeup remover, and it's a fraction of the cost. So I'm all about saving money where I can, since these two items cost a lot of money. Kiehl's is not cheap, but to me it's completely worth it. But I would say my most recommended tips if you want clear skin is your diet and your emotional health. For me, my skin didn't really start to clear up because I've had problems with rashes, I've had problems with acne, especially in this area, until I really started to clean up my diet, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables because that hydration is key, and work on my emotional health and de-stress my life. And clean up my gut health as well. Like all of that is so tied into your skin. So, I mean, these products I use are great, but I've used them for a long time, and I wouldn't say that's what cleared my skin and made it amazing. They're great assistants to my regimen, and they help with my dryness, but honestly, it's all about diet and lifestyle for your skin. All right, let's talk about another show I worked on. So this show I was hired on as an assistant. Well, actually, no, I was a talent wrangler for one celebrity, for Jessica Biel, and she was really nice. It was a show called Would You Rather. I only worked on it for one day, but I was basically her assistant. She had her own assistant there, but I was the assistant to the production set. So if she needed to be ready to go on camera at a certain point, I was the one in charge, and on walkie, that would make sure that she was where she was supposed to be, and I also had to like get her snacks and everything that she liked before her set. Oh, and I met her kid. I didn't meet Justin Timberlake, but I did get to play and hang out with her kid a little bit, and he was super cute. I can't remember his name. But anyways, I was in a hotel room with her, just kind of standing around, honestly. She was getting her makeup done, and they were filming in this hotel in LA, and so they were going to be filming on the rooftop, so they rented out a room for her to get ready in. And as she was getting ready and the makeup artist was in there, someone knocked at the door, and so I went to go see who it was, and it was I believe it was like the director or the producer. I don't know who the one guy was. I think he was a big deal, but I don't know who he was. And then it was Lisa Kudrow, and I'm sure most of you know who that is. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Phoebe, because I'm a big Friends fan. So I didn't realize she was an executive producer on the show. So then she walks, and we're all like talking, and I think Lisa Kudrow, yeah, she was my favorite celebrity that I met, because most of the time when you're working on these shows, you're not allowed to talk to anybody that's really famous. You're not, unless they talk to you or you're told to go tell them something. You can't just start talking to them. There's a lot of those kinds of rules when you're working on set. And so, but she was so down to earth, and she kept including me in conversation and asking me questions. And then when we went upstairs to go film, she was like, come sit by me, and I sat by her, and we talked a little bit, and I was so nervous. I was just like, why are you talking to me so much? Like, I'm nobody or whatever. Not that I'm nobody, but you know what I mean. But she was really nice, and I really enjoyed that. That show was really easy to work on. I didn't have to do too much, but it was a cool experience. All right, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but whatever. I'm going to talk about hair care. For years I used Pureology, and I loved Pureology, and I still use their conditioner spray, which I actually moved it to a little bottle. This isn't the packaging, but it's like a color corrective leave-in conditioner spray. I think it's the only one that they have by Pureology. I'll look it up and put it over here, but it's amazing, and I've been using it for years, and it just keeps my hair feeling good. And it's one of those leave-in conditioners you can put in your hair that doesn't make it feel super oily or greasy, which is really nice. But I did just switch my shampoo out. I'm using a different shampoo and conditioner, and it's this brand, New York Biology Apple Cider Vinegar Shampoo, and I use the conditioner. I really like it. It's affordable, and it smells really nice, and it just leaves my hair feeling really, really soft, really shiny. So I recommend it. You can get it off Amazon. That's where I found it, and the reviews were great, so I've just been rocking this for a while. And then I want to talk about this. This is a deep conditioning treatment, and it's a Shea Moisture. It's Jamaican black castor oil, strengthen and restore treatment mask. And I use this now every time I'm in the shower. I put my regular conditioner in, I put this in over it and leave it in for a couple minutes. And this has just made my hair feel like butter. I love it. If you're a person that likes to get a ton of volume with your hair, this might not be the best for you, because it does weigh your hair down a little bit. But to me, it's just worth it. It smells good, and my hair, I mean, I haven't had to cut it in a while, and my ends are they're not split. It's super soft, and I'm really trying to grow my hair out and make it a lot stronger. So I love it. I also use, I like Olaplex too. I don't know if you guys have used Olaplex. I love their conditioners. I don't have any right now, but I do have this Bond Smoother. It's Olaplex number 6. And this is really nice too to put in your hair. It's it's a styling cream, reduces frizz. It nourishes and protects. So I put this in when my hair is wet just before I blow dry it, and it also adds like an extra amount of smoothness. Okay, let's talk another cool show I worked on. So most of the shows I worked on were reality. There were a few scripted. Most of them were reality though. And I worked on RuPaul's Drag Race. Now I'm not supposed to like say a ton about it because we had to sign so many forms before working on the show. But I'm only going to say a few things that are really good and positive, so I think we're okay. But I worked on Season 3 All-Stars and Season 10. That was a nice gig. That was for 3 months, and it was kind of a stressful gig. There was a lot of different energies on that set, a lot of people working on that set. But RuPaul was so nice, and I never formally met him, but he'd always say hi to me walking past him. And it was interesting because, you know, him as a man versus him when he's in his drag, they're like two different people. So when he was in his drag, like, he wouldn't even look at you. Like, he was just this diva, like, persona, right? And it was funny because I worked as a talent wrangler, so I worked hands-on with the cast of the show. And not so much with RuPaul, but all of the contestants. I was just basically their go-to person. I would feed them, I would get them to their hotels, and I would kind of babysit them almost, right? Make sure they're not on anybody's phone and they're, you know, saving all the juicy gossip for filming and all that stuff. And it was a very interesting job. But it was funny because when I would meet all of them, they would act so differently as themselves, right? As their, I don't know, I guess you'd say it as when they were a man, and then when they would dress up as a woman, they would act like a different person. So even though there were like 14 people or 14 contestants, it felt like you were watching 28 people. Like, it was weird. It was a bizarre experience. And they looked so different that I was like, wait, who are you? Wait, who are you? The one show I worked at night, so when it was All-Star Season 3, I would do the night shift. So I'd pick them up from set, I would get them dinner, get them in the hotel rooms, and then if they needed anything throughout the night, I could go run errands for them, and then I'd take them to set in the morning. And then for Season 10, I worked on set during the day. I asked to switch to day because I just couldn't do the night shift. It was really harder for me. But yeah, that was a really positive experience, and there were a lot of celebrities that came on that show, but we didn't get to meet them. But when the girls from Broad City came on, Alana and Gabby, me and my friends working on that show, I was working on the show with some of my closest friends. We were such huge fans of Broad City. I still am. I love that show. If you guys haven't watched it, it's a Comedy Central show. But the two girls from that show came on to RuPaul to be judges, and so we asked the head talent coordinator if we could meet them, and he let us take pictures with them, and we got to talk to them for like 5 minutes, and that was a cool experience, and they were super nice, and yeah, it was very, very memorable. Okay, let's talk about makeup. Actually, no. First, I want to talk about these essential oils that I use. I'm not a big perfume fan. Sometimes I like perfumes, but I've just been into essential oils, so I'm obsessed with frankincense. So I've been putting this on me whenever I just want to have like a really pretty scent. And this is really good for opening up your third eye, too, and your spiritual senses, so I just love to work with it. And I have this is the second bottle I've bought, and it's by Aura Cassia, I'm not sure how you say it, but it's called Chill Pill, and it's a calming blend. It has like orange and lavender and peppermint, let's see, patchouli, chamomile, things like that. But I have loved this oil. It smells so good, and it really does bring a nice calming and relaxing vibe to my life. Okay, so the foundation I've been using lately, for anybody that wants to know. Okay, it's Tarte Amazonian Clay. Now, normally I like to try to go the natural route, and I tried to do that with my makeup for a long time, but it got really hard, and I just never really loved those foundations. Now, I'm open to hearing more natural products, so if you guys are like obsessed with a natural product that you use for, you know, foundation or anything for your skin, let me know. I'm all about it, but I don't do 100% natural because I found what works for me and what I like, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, so this is Tarte Amazonian Clay. I use I think it says 35B medium beige. So that's the tone that I use. And I have this makeup brush. It's a foundation brush. I got it from Amazon. It wasn't super expensive. It's not anything really fancy. But I just put this right on there, like that, and just work it in. I don't like to put anything super heavy on my face, and I don't like to contour. I've tried before the whole contouring thing, and honestly, I just felt like I was wearing too much makeup, and it just took a lot of work. And I like to have a nice, like, 5-minute routine. That doesn't take me that long. This color actually might be a tad darker than my skin because I'm not used to living. I used to live in California, and I just moved back to Michigan, and I'm not used to having my skin this white and this pale. It has not been this white in a very long time, but that's okay. Whatever. I'll make it work. Okay, and then concealer. I like this Painterly Pro Long Paint Pot. It's actually an eye primer from MAC, and I love it because you put it on your eyes and none of your makeup, your eyeshadow, or anything will crease up. It just keeps everything dry and perfect. So your eyeshadow just goes on so good. And I actually just use this as a concealer too. Okay, so let's talk about another show I worked on. Oh, I worked on this one show called Making It, and that was with Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman. That was a fun show. I didn't get to meet them. I'm a big fan of them. I loved Parks and Rec, so I was beyond excited to work on the show. And I only worked on it for about a week, but it was like I can't even remember what it was. I was like kind of offset and running errands all the time. Like, I was the person that went out and bought all of the stuff, all the arts and crafts that they used on that show. I was in, all those Hobby Lobbies and Joann Fabrics, and they were constantly sending me to go get a certain color or whatever, because I know the contestants could request stuff and ask for stuff, and I was the person that would leave set and drive and go buy everything. So I didn't spend a ton of time actually on the set, but I did see Amy and Nick from a distance, and that was pretty cool. I was like, there they are! Okay. Oh, yeah, and this was one of the first. I have, like, my notes over here because there's so many shows I worked on. I worked on this show for 2 seasons for a while. It was about a few months, I would say. Marriage Boot Camp. It's a reality show. I've actually never watched the show, even the seasons I worked on. Actually, a lot of these shows I never watched, or I watched bits and pieces of them. I'm not a big reality fan, so I wasn't that into it. I thought I would be more into it if I had been working on one. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely watch this, and then I never watched them. I didn't care. I don't know. But Marriage Boot Camp was an interesting one to work on. A lot of reality stars. I worked on Family Boot Camp, and then I also worked on Marriage Boot Camp, because they had 2 different kinds. But that show was hard work, because that mansion that they film in, somebody lives in that house normally, and so we have to, when we start to do the set dressing and the prep for the show, we had to move all of their stuff out of there, and they had like heavy antique stuff, and move all of our furniture in and completely redress the whole house. So we'd spend like 2 weeks just basically being paid movers to get all of this ready, and then once the show started, it was a little bit easier, but then tear down, it was the same thing. We had to move all of our stuff, all of our furniture out, and then put all of their furniture back exactly where it was. Oh, I would never, after I worked on the show, I was like, I'm never working on this show again, because it was just so physically taxing on my body. I couldn't believe that I even made it through, honestly. And it was the hottest, it was the summer, and it was in the hills, in Beverly Hills, and it was so hot. It was like being in the desert. Oh my gosh. But I will say the one person that I met that's famous on the Family Boot Camp was, he's from the Jersey Shore. He was the Situation. It was him and his brothers, and they were so nice and so chill. And it was funny because I remember hearing they were going to be on the show, and I thought, oh, they're going to be crazy or wild or something, and they weren't. They were just the easiest people to work with out of all the people I worked with in reality. They were like the easiest and the nicest, and to everybody on set. But I will say that was interesting working on scripted shows versus reality shows. In my perception, or in my experience, which obviously I told you most of the shows I worked on were in reality show people were usually the most demanding, it seemed, which was kind of weird. But yeah, sometimes the things they would request or ask for, or I remember one time it was on Marriage Boot Camp, and I was picking up like fast food for everybody. Yeah, In-N-Out, because everyone's obsessed with In-N-Out. It's this burger place in LA. And I, brought everything. I don't even think I picked up the order. I think someone else picked up the order. And when one of the contestants, or one of the reality stars, got her food, she was mad the lettuce wasn't on the side. So we had to drive a half an hour back to go get her another burger without lettuce on it, because she wanted it on the side, so it would be like crunchy or something. I don't know. It's just like weird stuff like that would happen where you're like, just eat the burger, like I couldn't even tell you who it was because I'm not a reality fan. So the stars on that show, I knew the situation because the Jersey Shore was just a huge show, and it was really, and I just remember watching it with my friends. So that's one of the few ones I've actually seen, but I couldn't even tell you who the other people were. I know some of them were like Housewives and Shaw's of Sunset and shows like that, but yeah, I don't know who they are. But they could be pretty demanding. All right, what eyeshadow should I use? Should we do dramatic or daytime? Okay, so we're gonna do a semi-dramatic eye. I'm gonna use MAC. I don't know what the names of these colors are because they're so worn out in the back. I've had them forever, but there's this sparkly purple, which is pretty. This golden color. It's like a shimmery golden color, and then this white color. So I'm going to start with this purple. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to talk about other movie stuff and TV stuff while I do it. So in the next show we have, this is very fitting that I'm doing my makeup because I did makeup on the show, and I actually did set dressing too. I kind of did everything on the show, and this was a scripted show for Netflix, which was cool. It was kind of a big deal. It was called Drug Lords. It was a lot of reenactments, so they would talk about, and I put this tissue underneath to like catch the powder so I don't get it all over my makeup. So, yeah, I did a little bit of everything on this show, and it was a very, very small crew, and I started off just as an assistant, but got like promoted really quickly to all kinds of things, to do all, like help with the art team, and it was kind of fun because it was about drugs, obviously, drug lords, right? So we were making like fake cocaine bundles and like all this fake drug stuff, but it looked like we had like all this fake money, and it was kind of fun to play with all of those things and help create that. So if you watched it and you saw all the scenes where they recreated scenes with these actors that they hired to replay what happened with these drug lords back in like the 80s and 90s. And so if you watched it and you saw like the big packages of cocaine, I helped make those. And then it was cool because we were on that show for, I don't know, maybe 2 months, and there was a makeup artist, and they couldn't keep her. She had another gig coming, so they needed somebody else, and they found out that I did makeup, and they were like, oh, well, do you know how to do this kind of makeup? Because it was a lot of like blood and bruises and, making people look sick or beat up, and I was like, yeah, I know how to do that, and I didn't know how. But there's something you learn in LA, while you're working in the TV business. It's like, fake it till you make it. So I thought, okay, I'll just figure it out, And so I did. I got hired to do the makeup, and I went home, and I went on YouTube, and I learned. And that day, or the next day, I went to a makeup store, and I bought all this stuff to like make fake black eyes. And I practiced on my roommates, and I was like, hey, can I give you guys black eyes? And it wasn't that hard. I already had makeup skills, so I just had to figure out how to do that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I did it, and it worked out really good. It actually turned out good in the show. And there's not like a ton of close-ups in the show since it's reenactments. Everything's more so kind of far away. So even if I didn't do the best job, it wasn't that big of a deal. But it was a really cool experience to be able to do that kind of artistic creative work on a show, on a big show. I mean, a Netflix show was like a big deal in LA if you got a gig on that. So yeah, I put the gold on with the purple, and now I'm putting this white kind of over it just to highlight it and like blend it through. To make it not as yellowy or goldy. Like I like a little bit of gold, but I don't like it too much. It's too intense. But yeah, it's kind of fun. Purple really makes my eyes pop, I think. So, and then I kind of go through with my foundation brush and clean up the sides. So that's the start of the eyes. But yeah, the Netflix show was cool. I learned a lot on that show. And it was just different. Working on scripted shows are so different than reality shows, so it was cool to see a whole nother world in that way. Alright, let's put some eyeliner on. Okay, I've had this pencil forever, and I think it's just CoverGirl. Yeah, it's a CoverGirl. I like the pencils for eyeliner because they last a long time, and for me, they're just easier to put on. And I don't like putting a ton of eyeliner on. I like starting like kind of right here, not in the crease, but a little off to the side, and then let it get bigger as it goes, you know, and then wing it out a little bit. So I'll show you. It's kind of hard to do with my mirror this far away though, so I need to move it. This might be tricky to do while filming. I've never done my makeup while filming myself, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Not my best work. Okay, good enough. Good enough. I don't need it to be perfect. Hair is more of my forte because that's actually what I went to school for mostly, more than makeup. I can do, you know, lots of different kinds of braids and extensions, and I can cut and color and do all that kind of stuff. I don't do it anymore. I used to do it on the side. I'll do haircuts for like family and friends if they want it, but I just don't have a deep passion for it anymore. But I've had my hair every kind of color that you can imagine. Okay, and then this mascara I use. This is not the best mascara, but you guys, like, this is so good for sensitive eyes. I have sensitive eyes, and mascara just irritates them. And I used to just not care and suffer through, but eventually it just started to get worse. And so I found this kind. It's called Fifth and Skin Natural Lash Mineral Mascara. And I like it. It works good. I mean, it doesn't work amazing, like I said, but it does the job. It does the job. If you guys know of a better natural mascara, please comment down below because I would like to know, because I'm open to trying different ones. But here, I'll put this on and we'll talk about another show I worked on. Okay, so the very first show I worked on, because, you know, I started working in TV and it was really random. I basically had made friends with this guy, became friends with him, and he was like telling me about this show he just got hired on. He's like, yeah, I'm really excited because it's a travel show and we're going to travel around the United States and we're going to hit up 30 cities in 30 days. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I'm so excited for you. You know, that's great. And he was asking me how my jobs were going. And at the time I was living in San Diego, and I was really having a hard time making money. I was going from different restaurants to different restaurants, and I was having a hard time surviving, honestly. And so I told him, I was like, it's okay, you know, I wish I was making more money and this and that. He's like, well, maybe I can get you on the show. And I was like, that would be awesome. Like, I would love to travel. And it was more than I was making currently, because when you work on a travel show, you get paid extra. You get per diem. And that pays for like extra food expenses and toiletries when you're on a travel show. So it was actually a pretty decent amount of money. And I was like, yeah, and I felt confident that I could do it because I've done a lot of jobs at this point, and I just have had a lot of experience in different careers. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. I can do anything. It's like, I've done hair, I've worked at restaurants. I'm like, how hard could it be? And so I interviewed, and the guy didn't want to hire me. Well, he did, but he didn't because, like, I impressed him. But this isn't a typical first show for someone to be on a travel show. They usually want people that are experienced, especially for an assistant job. So, but it was such a last minute thing that they were hiring people on that they kind of didn't have much of a choice. And my friend just spoke highly of me. He's like, listen, I promise you she'll do a good job. She's a hard worker, and just kind of basically talked them into it. So I got hired on, and I was really nervous. I was really excited, but at the time I was still dealing with some chronic health issues and some fatigue and, you know, some things that I had been dealing with for a while. So I was kind of nervous to put my body through something like that. But at the same time, I felt like intuitively that it was meant to be. I really felt that. Alright, I think that's good enough for the mascara. Like I said, not my best work. But yeah, so I got hired on, and we did it. We traveled. I flew from LA. I was living in San Diego. They were supposed to fly me from San Diego, but the girl that booked my flight accidentally booked it from LA, and I didn't find out till right before. So that was like a whole nother crazy story I'm not even going to get into. But I made it just in time, got to LA, got on my flight, and we flew to Richmond, Virginia, and we prepped there for a week. And so the show was called The Runner, and it wasn't a huge show. It was kind of like an Amazing Race show. It was on the Go 90 app through Verizon, so you had to watch it on your tablet or your smartphone. And it was an interactive reality show. It was different. It was actually created by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but they weren't like, I think they had sold the concept to the network, so it's not like we worked with them. That would have been cool. So it was about teams, these teams of 2, right? And there was like 5 teams or 6 teams, I don't remember. But they each had a car, and they would get clues, and they would have to find this person. They were basically chasing after a person. This person was the runner, and they would have to chase after them and find them and catch them. And if they caught them, they would win money. And then it was interactive, so people watching, it was live. They could help them with the clues. And then if somebody helped them, they could give them money. So the contestants on the show were giving out money to people playing online. So it was very interactive. It's a cool concept. But it didn't do super well. And so yeah, we had to, basically we were in charge of getting the cars ready for the stars of the show, the contestants rather. And then I ended up working with the host of the show. He was really, really cool. He's actually the one that got me the gig on Steven Spielberg. So I was his special assigned assistant. So I had to drive every day like 4 to 5 hours to this new city. We started on the East Coast and went up like through New York and over down through Ohio, through Michigan, Wisconsin, down through Tennessee to Florida, over to Texas, back up through Seattle, back down to California. So it was kind of like this wild ride. It was everywhere, and we got to see some of the cities. Most of the cities were pretty major and pretty big. Some of them I hadn't heard of before, but we got to go to New Orleans and Nashville and Seattle and Austin and just a ton of cities. Chicago, yeah, a lot of places that were really cool that I hadn't been. And that show was exhausting, but it was so fun because I made so many amazing connections on that show, and they were like, if you want to keep working in TV, you can, we'll help get you jobs. So I made so many connections, and I made a best friend, and she got me a lot of jobs. So I ended up deciding to move to LA because of that. So that was the first experience I had in TV. It was really fun. We traveled a ton. We had an amazing crew on that set. And it was great that the people were so cool because they were all willing to help me because I didn't know how to work a walkie or how to talk in it. Like, it sounds easy, like, oh, you just talk in a walkie. But there's like a whole code and system of how you do it on set. And I didn't know any of that, So I was like, someone calling for me. What's going on? Because you basically wear it all day and you have to listen. If they call your name and you don't respond, you get in trouble. So it's just this whole thing that I had to learn and understand. But it was a really, really cool first experience. Okay, we need to do my eyebrows. So this pencil, I love this pencil. I got this randomly for free. My sister-in-law gets one of those boxes you get every month where you pay a subscription and you get tons of different stuff. I don't know what it's called. It's one of the bigger, well-known ones. But she got an eyebrow pencil and she wasn't going to use it because she's got like perfect eyebrows. But anyways, it's called Winky Lux Unibrow. Universal Brow Pencil. It's got a brush on one side, which I never use, but the color is great. It works really well. It looks natural. And see how like my eyebrows are really thin up here in the middle, like right in this area, because I used to over tweeze when I was younger because that's what you did in the early 2000s, late 90s, right? So, okay. Move this in here. What other show should we talk about? Oh, okay. So after The Runner, I worked on a lot of home improvement shows, which was cool. Like a flip room where they would flip a room, you know? And it was like a before and after. The one show, I tried to look up the name before I filmed this, and I couldn't find it. But it was somebody that was either on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, and he hosted the show that I was on. He was really nice, and basically we had to help him remodel these rooms, and I got to like paint and build stuff and sand, and I already had some experience doing that, so I liked it. You know, they'd give me like these shelves, and I basically have to put them together. Sometimes they were IKEA, but sometimes they were a little more advanced. And then I did the same thing for Wayfair. Wayfair is like a furniture store, and they had a series on YouTube, and I helped. So if you saw anything that was put together on YouTube for Wayfair, that was me. I was like, they would give me, I remember one time they gave me this shelving unit to put together, and it was like hundreds of pieces, and it probably took me like 4 or 5 hours, but they were really grateful for me because they said the last PA they had was some guy that when they tried to give him these kind of projects, he would just start crying because he would get too stressed out. And I was like, no, I loved it. I thought it was fun. So that was a cool gig. I worked on quite a few different home improvement shows, and they were all fun. I learned a lot, and it was interesting too because some of the shows, the people that they flip the room for, you know, because they come to a house and like, we want to redo this room. Some of them actually lived there, but some of them were paid actors. I won't tell you what shows it was, but some of them were paid actors because the people that owned the home, they wanted their room to be done, but they didn't want to be on camera. So they would just say, okay, well, let's use your house, and then we can just bring on an actor, and we'll just pretend that he lives there. So sometimes they don't always live there, which is kind of funny. Okay, I feel like this is as good as it's going to get. But yeah, I just fill this in a little bit. See how natural it looks? Just do that, and I don't really have to do much towards the end. Just the middle. And now I have full eyebrows. Okay. Okay, so this next show I worked on, well, it was a Christmas special. It was only for a few days. And it was the easiest gig I ever had. I barely had to do anything. And it was, I think it was called, what was the name of the group? Pentatonics? Yeah. They're like a young teen group. Yeah, they did this like Christmas special. That was the easiest gig I ever worked on. I basically just got to watch them practice and sit there. Yeah. There was way too many PAs on that show, so too many assistants. Didn't have to do much. But that was cool. It was fun to watch them. They were really good. I'd never heard of them before. Oh, I worked on a commercial once. That was for those headphones. The really expensive ones, the big ones. Beats by Drake or something? Is that what they're called? Gosh, I'm the worst. I don't know. But they were some sort of headphone. We filmed in a warehouse that had no air conditioning in the middle of the summer. It was really hot. It was really hot. That's all I remember from that show, was just drinking lots of water and being really, really hot. Some of the shows weren't that pleasant to work on. But I think that was the only commercial I worked on, which was nice because you make a lot more money working on commercials in that industry than anything else. You make like double. Oh, and then I worked on this musical, Hairspray. When they did Hairspray Live, it had Ariana Grande, Derek Hough, Jennifer Hudson, Kristen Chenoweth. Yeah, Kristen Chenoweth. Oh, and Darren Criss. Yes, I worked on that. That was fun. That was cool. I didn't get to meet any of them, but I did meet Darren Criss at a Halloween party. He was dating my friend's friend, and I talked to him for about 5 minutes. And I always thought he was such a cutie pie, so that was an exciting moment in my life. But he was very, very nice. Okay, I'm gonna put some bronzer on. I think that's it, and some lipstick. So I got this Anastasia palette. It's a contour palette, but I use it just for the bronzer. I got this from RuPaul, actually, I think. I got a lot of face stuff and makeup from being on that show. Because a lot of times when you work on shows and they break down sets and they have all this extra stuff, they just give it away to the people that work on the shows. Like when I worked on Wayfair, I got so much Wayfair furniture and bowls and plates, and that was a great show to work on because I was working on that show, and then when I was in the process of moving to LA, couldn't have been a better time, and I got so much free stuff. But yeah, I got this, which was a while ago. I've had this for a while now. But yeah, I just use a tiny bit of bronzer. I don't use a lot. I just put a little bit on my cheekbones. I'm not a big blush fan. I just feel like it makes me look red. And see, I already get red and splotchy, so I don't like to add to that. Sometimes I just get like this when I'm filming because I get a little nervous. And now that I'm so pale and pasty, my tan won't hide it anymore, so you can see it. So yeah, you can tell that my face is a little bit darker than the rest of my skin. I might need to go find a tanning booth or something. So yeah, most of these shows I worked on, I was just a production assistant. I didn't do anything major or huge. I ran a lot of errands, but occasionally I did some cool things like talent wrangling. And I did coordinate a show for post-production. So this is the department that works on the show after it's been filmed, but I was in post-production on a live show. So the post-production was happening while everything else was going on, right? And it was a show with Adam Carolla. It was called Adam Carolla and Friends Build Stuff Alive. Didn't do too hot. He brought in a lot of celebrities, and they would build stuff together and do home improvement stuff. It was kind of like a spin-off of Tool Time. You know that show Home Improvement with Tim Allen? It was kind of reminded me of that. And I thought it was kind of a cool concept, but it didn't do too well. So I worked in post for that, and I actually had to help with the editors. I worked with the editors a lot. So I did edit some of the footage, not for the show, but people would apply to be on the show because they would bring on random people that were trying to improve their house or something like that. And I would edit. They taught me how to use the editing software. I would edit the tryout videos. So that's cool that I learned how to edit because it helped me now with when I started to make my own YouTube channel. I had a little bit of knowledge and I knew that I was capable of doing it. So it wasn't as intimidating, even though now I use a completely different software. But I helped them with that, and then I helped with finding sound effects. So they used weird different sound effects for the station, and the editors would make a list, like I needed something that sounds like this and this and this, and then I would use these different websites that had sound effects and find ones that they needed and send them like a list. It was kind of a weird job, but I liked it. But that was an easy job. I was on it for 3 or 4 months, and I didn't do a lot. They didn't give me much to do. So I'd run errands sometimes and find sound effects and edit once in a while, but I pretty much just sat there and Googled a lot, which wasn't too bad. It was kind of nice. Let's talk about this lipstick I'm going to put on. I don't know if this lipstick is going to go that great with this eye, but I love this lipstick, and I wanted to talk about it. It's MAC, and the color is Cosmo, and I just love this color. It's not super dramatic, but it almost brings out the natural like pigment in your lips. So I'll show you. It's just got like a nice rosy tint to it, and it just makes my lips look fuller. And I don't know, I love it. See? It's very subtle, but gives a nice pop. So there you have it. There's my look. That's how I get ready. And then for my hair, I usually just straighten it or curl it, or I don't do anything to it. It's pretty easy. My hair's pretty easy. I'm pretty lucky. I don't have any color in it. This is the first time since I was 13 that I haven't dyed my hair. I decided to go natural, but it just has like a little bit of a wave in the front, so I'll straighten the front or I'll just add a few curls in it. But I'm pretty lucky with my hair. It's pretty easy. It's a little bit thinner than I'd like. That's why I do a lot of the conditioners like I talked about earlier. But yeah, I'm pretty lucky in that sense. Okay, let's talk about a few more things I worked on. I worked on a documentary with Jared Leto. Jared Leto, that's his name, right? Guy with the long hair, he's in a band. Yeah. He was actually making this documentary about the 4th of July. And I only got hired on for like the last 3 days, but the production team met in his house. He had this huge mansion, and so I actually got to like live in his house. Kind of live in it, because the last night we had so much work to do that we all stayed the night. We had like a sleepover in his house. He was nice. I talked to him for just a mere second, but that was a very interesting show to work on. I remember I was like I guess you'd say an assistant producer. I would help the producers and create the content. So I forget what this documentary was even called, and I really want to see it actually. This was actually a show I worked on that I really wanted to see. Jared Leto had this idea to film all these different types of people all throughout the states on the 4th of July. So he had crews set up all through each state, almost each state in the country, to film on the same day. And then he was going to put all that footage together, and you would find like interesting people or people that did extreme sports or just all kinds of different cultures and groups of people, and I don't really even know what it all entailed, honestly. But I was responsible for reaching out to the owners of the Bunny Ranch, which is like a whorehouse in Nevada, and I had to talk to them, and it was weird because that was one of the people they wanted to film. I don't know if we actually filmed them for that, but that was interesting. But we did this all from LA, so it's not like we were going to any of these places. We had teams, or he had teams set up throughout the states. I don't know if I explained that documentary well, but it was interesting to work on that one. What I liked about TV was that, you get hired on for a whole new set, a new show, and you would meet a whole new group of people, right? And you had to think fast. You had to just be prepared to just dive in and not have to be told a million things. You just had to figure it out. So it was almost just like this strategy game of each show you worked on. Okay, well, there's nothing, I'm not being told what to do right now, but you just have to find something to do. So you had to find something to clean, or find somebody to help, or find something to do, or just see that there needed to be something to do and just take action without overstepping your boundaries. So it was really fun and really challenging, but each show was so different, right? Some shows were so easy, just sit around and do nothing. Some shows you were just go, go, go all day. They were all so different. But I met an amazing amount of people. I met some cool celebrities, and I had some interesting stories to share. So I'll talk about, what else do I want to talk about? You know what, there are some other people, some famous people I've met, so I'll just tell you about them. I actually waited on a bunch of famous people before I even moved to LA in Detroit. I waited on, I have a list, hold on. I waited on Kid Rock. I waited on Amy Adams. She was a sweetheart. I love her. I waited on Gerard Butler. He was cool. Pretty picky, but cool. Michelle Monaghan. I don't know how to say her last name, but she's gorgeous. Waited on her. I mean, I poured her like a beer. That's really it, but, she was nice. Oh, and when I visited LA before I moved there, I met the lead singer of Puddle of Mud, if you guys remember that band. That song is like, she effing hates me, da 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 da. Yeah, I'm not a singer, but I met him at a restaurant. He was nice. He actually approached me to talk to me, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, I think I got most of it. I'm probably missing a show or two, because I worked on a lot of different ones. It was all freelance. I didn't work for a specific company. It was just making connections and then getting shows basically from that. I did get offered to work on The World of Dance. That was the last show I got offered to work on, but I decided to work at a restaurant instead, because this is a point in my life where I realized I couldn't keep working in television because I needed to take my health more seriously, and I needed to slow down. And when you work in television, when you work on set, it's about 50 hours a week, sometimes even more, sometimes 60, and I wanted to work at a restaurant again, so I could only work about 25, 30 hours a week. I really wanted to try to cut my hours in half so I could focus on my healing and focus on integrating like a whole new lifestyle. But I did get offered to work on The World of Dance as an assistant to the judges. So I would have been either working for like J-Lo, Neo, Derek Hoff, or I forget the fourth judge. Is there four? Maybe it's three. I don't know. I watched bits of the show, but I've never seen the whole episode. But that could have been interesting. But I decided, no, I'm done. I'm over it. I had a good experience. But that industry can be very stressful. I mean, like I said, it depends on what show you worked on. But a lot of the shows, it's go, 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 and you're running around for, 10 to 12 hours a day. And it can be really intense and very wearing. So I recognized after a year that I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I was like, nope, this is fun for now. This is a cool experience. But it just I wasn't super passionate about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this really different, interesting story. If you have any questions on any of the products I use or anything I talked about with any of the TV shows, or if you want to know more about my life and my other experiences. If you want to suggest any video ideas, I am open to hearing all of them, so just comment down below. Comment down below what you thought of this too, if it was interesting or if I should just stick to pick a cards, Megan. No, I don't know. I just like to have fun with my channel. I don't like to take it too seriously, and I like to just bring different kinds of content because why not? This is my artistic expression, right? So thank you guys for joining me. I'm sending lots of love to you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.